Welcome to another episode of, the newly named Shootin' the Bull with Brock and Dwight. I'm Brock. The unmuscly guy is Dwight. I'm the muscly one in here. Did you just come from the gym, Dwight? Looking good, buddy. You looking tight.
You don't even look like you know a guy named Jim, let alone bend over one. You know what I'm saying?
Damn it. But this is the kind of back and forth that we have that makes this so fun. Makes it so fun. Yes. Of course, we have to mention
piece of shit.
What's that?
I said his brotherly love.
Yes.
My brother was a huge piece of shit.
Just a huge, gigantic piece of shit. But you still love him because he's your brother. That's right. All right. Well, hold on. We gotta mention the sponsor, whether he likes it or not. Zach Johnson Auto Detailing. He'll probably be mad at us because this is a terrible podcast, and he's gonna be like, I don't want to be tied to this thing. But hey, he's the sponsor, whether he likes it or not. So.
And again, he can get the scratches out of your shitty SUV.
Your shitty SUV, yes.
Shit friend or brother ran it through a barbed wire fence. That guy.
If you bring that up every podcast, we are going to be set. We are golden. Every single one. Yes.
The very last podcast, we can tell the story about how you are a huge piece of shit.
Yes, we'll wrap all of this up with me being a piece of shit. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so we really have no rhyme or reason to this podcast. We started off with aliens, which was a really fun one, and we're gonna dive more into that down the road. But I thought something maybe topical to discuss is obviously the Super Bowl is this weekend. If you're watching it, it's after the Super Bowl, then you saw what happened. But something that has been coming to light, or at least people have been discussing, is that the NFL is rigged. All right. It's staged, it's scripted. And a lot of this stems from sports betting. And there is a lot of money being thrown around. So annually, I looked this up. How much do you think the NFL is worth annually, Dwight?
I'm gonna go $2 billion.
$2 billion. Yeah, I mean, you're in the right area in the billions. The 32 NFL teams generate $17.1 billion a year. Okay.
Okay, but you're talking about generating that for themselves, though, correct?
So that's what they're all bringing in. So when you look at and once it's all combined, that's what it is. Now, what is the NFL taking out of that cut? You're probably right. Maybe 2-3 billion, but we're still talking billions of dollars. And Dwight, I think you can agree with when that much money is involved, things can get murky, crazy, weird. Is that fair to say?
I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical company.
Now, that's another day. We'll get to that another day right there. Yeah.
Are you gonna tell me right now, Brock? Are you gonna tell me that this NFL being rigged? Conspiracy?
It very well could be. And there's something I'm going to bring up too that happened recently that is already getting conspiracy traction, and that is Damar Hamlin and the fact that he is. And I don't want to make light of a situation or talk ill, but there's people saying that he actually died, and the NFL is covering up with a stand-in because here's a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry that is trying to save face. Now, again, we'll get to that in just a little bit. The game is coming up this weekend. You got the Chiefs, you got the Eagles. There's so much money that is going to be bet on this. I just read somewhere that there will be, I believe, 6 billion, either 6 or 16 billion in bets on this game alone.
Okay.
So when you have that much money at stake, that much money passing hands, especially in the gambling side of it, it starts raising a lot of questions like, okay, there's might be something that we're not being privy to, and maybe there is more going on behind doors to make it go a certain way so money is not lost and money is made.
Man, I really don't have a dog in this fight. Like, yeah, as far as conspiracies go, this is kind of a new one to me. And I guess once it hits your mind, once you hear about it, then you start watching these games.
Right.
And, okay, we're human minds. Where does our mind go to? We go for patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, looking for those patterns. Does it mean it's not true or true? No. But here's the thing I want to throw back at you and ask you. Are you saying the NFL is rigged for Vegas, or are you saying the NFL is rigged for profits through the NFL? Things.
That's a two-parted question. I think maybe have the same answer is that, and I know this is a wild topic to talk about, because it's like, okay, are we talking about a legit conglomerate entertainment and sector that is rigging it so people are making money, the rich are getting richer? But you can go back all the way to the what year Yankees threw the World Series?
Oh yeah, it was like 1913 or something
like eight guys got charges thrown on them, and I mean, you can take sports betting and rigging games all the way back then, and I'm sure even beforehand. And when you're talking about billions of dollars, us, and again, our human brains, we can't really wrap our minds around $1 billion. All right. When we say Jeff Bezos has billions of dollars, we're like, wow, yeah, that's a lot. But we don't really understand. Unless you see it and spend it, it's crazy. And when you get that kind of money and you get that kind of power, it makes you do or think about doing some questionable things. So what I'm going to bring in is initially maybe no, but then they saw how much money is being brought in. And it's not legal in every state. You can't gamble on sports in every state. And now too, with online gambling, I mean, I got it here in Michigan. I got the FanDuel, and I do my gambling on there. I've been doing that, and they get you in, and you're nickel and diamond, and you're throwing money around. And now is the NFL saying, okay, we can benefit even more from all of this gambling. Why don't we get in bed with these people in the gambling world, and let's all make even more money without these schlubs that are just slinging it because they're addicted to it without them knowing?
First things first, though, Brock, is you got to understand, man, rigging a game, rigging a sports game is pro wrestling.
Yeah.
That's not illegal. It's not against the law to rig the game. It's against the law to bribe somebody to rig the game, right?
Really? Okay.
That's the law. So, I mean, it's not against the law to rig these games. So, that being said, right, is it dirty? That's a tough one for me to right? Like it. Okay, so if it's not illegal to rig the game, then how do you get everybody to go along with it?
Yep.
How many people have to be involved in this conspiracy for this thing to like manifest or get legs, right? What do you have, one ref and a quarterback?
Yeah.
Maybe you got one ref like skewing one game, and it's just one game that they want to be close or watch. In my opinion, Brock, I think it's the NFL that would, if any of this is true, if any of this has merit, it would be the NFL rigging games for themselves, not for Vegas. Like, it just, once you start putting too many components together, right?
Yeah.
You like, I need to get this guy involved and this guy involved and this guy involved. Then all of a sudden you have this massive, like, somebody's going to talk.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, and someone's going to spill the gravy. I get what you're saying. So it's interesting you bring up that point, because okay, we could have scripted NFL games. Who gives a shit? Maybe we want it to come down to the wire, but as long as we're not bribing anyone to do this, then you're right. It's just like pro wrestling, and we all love it's entertainment. It's an entertainment business with athletes that are involved. It just happens to be athletes that are there, but they got a script or they know how this is going to end. So however we get there, now maybe it's not every game too. Here's another thought that I have with this is that maybe it's not every game, but it's key games. Like, okay, we got this game is going to decide who's going to win the NFC North. Okay. We want big numbers. We want a lot of people watching. We want an exciting game. So let's maybe set up a botched snap. Let's set up a pass interference that's questionable. And of course, now everyone's watching so closely, and we have replay until it's almost not even fun anymore. But now that actually brings it into a new light, is where it's like, okay, we can have a script as long as we're not doing anything under the table or, shady. This is an entertainment industry, and let's keep it entertaining to keep people watching.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, NFL. What were the ratings last year? Were they down? And take a look at the games though. It gets patterns, right? Once I hear that the NFL is rigged, and I'm like, oh, okay, okay, I don't know, maybe possibility. I'll give it a shot. I'll take a look. I'll see what's going on over there. You start to see patterns, and you start to see things like, man, all these games are really, really close, and these games are like, and wow. Now I'm watching more NFL games when I don't really care. Right now, I care about maybe one team. I watch maybe the Packers here and there. I don't avidly stop what I'm doing in my life to watch them, but now I'm watching them. Oh, just click this on YouTube and watch highlights and stuff like that, right? And that's what everybody's eyes going to is these highlights, these shorts, right?
Yep.
And isn't big enough for the game. But I think going back to what you were saying about the snaps and the bad snap and all that shit.
Yeah.
All it takes is some unreviewable calls to not call a holding call.
Right. Exactly.
Holding call against Patrick Mahomes. And the guy's a stud. Aaron Rodgers, stud. Tom Brady, stud. They're just going to do what stud quarterbacks do. And they're just going to dominate. So you give them more pass time.
Yeah. Well,
maybe.
You brought up ratings too, and I'm COVID. Obviously, we go back the past 2 years. Okay, they weren't sure games were going to be played. People were on lockdown, so maybe they are trying to recoup some of that, and maybe they found oh wow. And then you just brought up something so key: is we are a give it to me society. I want to see the highlights. I want to watch the talking heads. I'm going to get more. And then add in fantasy. Well, now I got different teams that I care about. You're right. I think back in the day, and for me, I'm just a diehard Packer fan. That's really all I care about. But ever since I started gambling, well, now I am paying attention to other games. I am watching other teams that I wouldn't fucking care about otherwise, unless it was NFC North and maybe in the way. But now I'm like, well, look, I want this receiver to do well. I'm looking into this team. I'm looking into this defense. And so now it's opening up so much more that never really was a thing before. And I think that all now stems from the money that is involved and the money that can be made. Because the NFL's got to be making money from these gambling sites. They got to be, right?
Yeah, one would think, right? A lot of money. Yeah, they're going to have their hand in the pot. I can't, like I said, it doesn't. I guess to get more people involved in it. Yeah, how come we haven't heard from any of these people, right?
Yeah.
How come we haven't heard? Okay, instead of bribing these people, instead of giving these people money, maybe they're just giving them contracts. This is pro wrestling, right? Now you have to start thinking, okay, pro wrestler just gets a contract, right? What is it illegal? It's illegal to rig mind games, right? Games you play with your mind. So remember back in the 50s, they had rigged game shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, shit, Jeopardy had that whole thing about the coughing. You remember that one? Yeah. And
Yeah, you can't rig those type of games. But this stuff, you can rig it all the live long day. Don't give a shit. So it's pro wrestling at that point, right?
Yeah.
So somebody, I don't know, give $10 million to say hey, throw this game for me. And that for life, again, show me that they're there, right? Okay, is there somebody that's come out and said for sure? Okay, not to get off subject, but in the NBA, this happened to who was it? Allen Iverson,
something like that. Yeah.
Where he threatened another referee, and the referees they unionized against him, and everybody knew that he was carrying the ball, but then nobody called it because he was. And he would just carry the ball as a nonchalant thing that never got called.
Yeah.
Refs started fucking with him after he threatened that other ref, and he came up to him in the game, and he's like, "Hey, man, how long is this going to last?" And what are you talking about?
Yeah. And see, you brought in now basketball. That's almost a conversation for another day, because you want to talk about a sport that is very easy to with bad calls or this calls. You can get a guy you get a missed 4 tech, he's out. Well, shit, your top scorer goes. That's going to affect that. It's much easier. And again, going to what we're talking about, I realize that it's probably very hard to script an NFL game. It can change. Shit, you can have a run back, a 99-yard run back that you didn't plan for, it just happened, or if not everyone's on script, you know what I mean? If it's just, okay, yeah, the quarterback's maybe going to have an off day and throw a few more picks than he planned on throwing. You know what I mean? Like, but basketball is one of those ones that a ref has so much power, and that's got to be a sport that's really easy to rig there. And you see some of it and you're like, what the hell is going on? You saw that call, so-and-so did this. So I don't know. It's just, for me, seeing how much money is being thrown around. And again, what I originally started with is the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that money does a lot of fucking things. You know what I mean? Money is in I don't want to say the root of all evil, but honestly, you might chalk it up for that, because you got people that now are rich and they want to stay rich and they want to get fucking richer. And it really doesn't matter what they have to do to make that happen, whether that's rigging a football game or getting in bed with, the guys in Las Vegas, which I'm sure that's not all on the up and up. You know what I mean? And then the government, the government knows too.
So you think, okay, do you think the government's in on some of this too? Do you think the government's getting their taxes out of them and they know about it? How deep does this rabbit hole go, and how big is the cabal? And again, I want to get into this and say, like, dude, how many people need to be involved for this thing to work, right? Okay, you got me watching, like,
yeah.
got me thinking, like, and who came up with, who started noticing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Just regular Joe Schmoes like you and me. Well, it's kind of like the COVID thing, right? Like, I had the play before the play even was started in 2019. Like, this is what they're going to do. I have witnesses saying that, right? So are these people just like me, only in the sports world, picking this stuff out? Like, dude, this is the play they're doing. This is what's going on. And when did it start?
Yeah.
When did it sure the hell didn't start back in the 50s and 60s. I mean, those guys were making nothing.
Yeah.
So how deep does this rabbit hole go? How many people need to be involved for this to be?
And see, that's what I know seems so crazy. And I'm not saying it is rigged, but I just, when there's that kind of money involved, there's just a part of me.
Yeah, that's fuck you.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's plumber money.
Yeah. By the way, Dwight, the world's strongest plumber. I forgot to mention that in your intro for that. But it is. I'll get it. But you're right. And again, we, as the average American, whatever, even the upper class, we still don't get what it's like, to be in that level, that tier of money. That's where you can build your own fucking rocket into space. I mean, think about that. Like, that's just a totally different level of wealth. And when you get to that level, whether it be Roger Goodell or someone that owns an NFL team or an NBA team or something like that, you don't want to let that go. You want to keep getting advertising dollars. You want to keep putting people in the seats. You want to keep doing. Think about how much it costs to go to a fucking game right now. Like, it's insane. It's insane. And I think the people in charge would be willing to flirt with ideas or scenarios that'll keep them getting all of that money in their pockets over and over again. 17 games a year, possibly into the playoffs.
Let me ask you this question. What would it take for you to sell your soul like that? What would it take? How much money would it take? How much money would it take for you to throw the Super Bowl? Like, let's say, in your profession, right?
Yeah.
Like, your profession seriously. And like, I can't believe I'm giving you credit, but you're damn good at your trade, man. Like, you're really good at it. But how much would it take for somebody to say, like, hey, Brock, like, I don't know, just leave your job and do something else, and like, I'll give, I'll cut you some money, or whatever you
maybe like blow it all up. Like, here, okay, I'll put it in my terms. Like, someone to say, Brock, go on air and say something just racist. All right, just blow it up. Like, you will never get another job in radio again. Go all Don Imus on radio, right?
Right.
That's a good question. What is my price? Because it's like, okay, outside of maybe people can I tell anyone? Probably not, because that's all part of the deal. That's what we're talking about. That's tough, man. That's tough.
And you're talking high level guys. You're talking about ultra. And dude, like, not that I'm saying that I was a high level competitive, guy. I was at that level, but I was in the mix. I was right
Mhm.
there. But I was with a lot of these like guys that were super competitive in what we did. And
Mhm.
man, I'm telling you, like I don't know. I don't know the amount that you would have to give some of these, like even in powerlifting. And
Mhm.
that's a schmuck sport. You want to call it a sport? It's not a sport.
Mhm.
Like, but some of these guys, like, man, I don't know if you could. I don't, and they're getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could be like, hey man, I'll give you like 10 grand to throw this meat.
Mhm.
Right? And this guy's rolling, and this guy's a top tier guy, right? I'll give
Mhm.
like just throw this meat, whatever. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, 10 grand, is that worth like 10 million to the football player elite? Maybe,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Oh man, you really gotta like sell this guy's soul, right? Like,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
maybe that leads into this Hollywood thing too. Like those people sell their soul, right? That whole,
To be famous. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I
It
this
it
this is something that I knew about it. I
Mhm.
watched some games and it was just, it's in my mind now. Like,
Yeah.
maybe, but this is still pretty cool because like the athleticism that I see in that sport, football, professional football, is
Mhm.
off the fucking charts.
Oh, and now it just gets crazier every year. Every year. Yep.
Just
Yep.
out hit the equipment, right? And here, this leads into the other thing too, right? That I kind of wanted to get into with you about like, okay, you're telling me these guys are all natty. You tell
Mhm.
me bullshit,
Yep.
bullshit. And I know for a fact that some of them are, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tom Kittle, like,
Yep.
dude, guy looks juicy as fuck, right?
Mhm.
So are they like, hey man, we tested you and you're gonna get popped. So here's what we want from you. Like, do they,
Mhm.
right? Is that how they do it?
Or is it, hey, oh boy, I hope there's not a test coming up soon. Boy, that'd be terrible if a test was coming up in 3 weeks. And then he goes, oh shit. Yeah, again, that and outside of betting, that's a whole nother thing because you're absolutely right. There's no way these guys are playing at those levels. Now, even to the injuries. The injuries. Mahomes had a high ankle sprain. That is something you don't just get taped up and go fucking run around with. You're telling me he's not getting, yeah. Yeah, he's still running around on that thing. Whatever they put in Aaron Rodgers' knee, 2 years ago, and he's just like, my knee. And he went to the tent and got the good stuff. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because they know.
The GH thing, right?
Yep.
Remember that? Remember that? And his wife got it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
okay, yeah. Well,
go.
shit.
And
Go, uh,
telling right at the end of his career, like he went and won the Super Bowl and and set off into the sunset and like, man, you couldn't have wrote a better story, right?
and that's what you look at. You look at some of these stories, and that's what people want to see. That's why, and sports are such an easy thing to do because people are so passionate about it. Even with wrestling, most people know it is scripted,
Right.
but we still eat it up. We love it. We want to see those crazy stories. We want to because you're so emotionally invested in these characters,
Yeah.
these people, and that's the same thing with football. Like I can ruin a Sunday if my Packers don't win. And that's insane. That's insane. You know what
Your,
I mean?
your wife catches extra beatings on the Sundays.
What?
And
You know what? I bet you had this conversation on air because Hunter jokes about it. I'm like, I need to make it very clear that I don't beat my wife if the Packers lose. Like, I'm very passionate, but for God's sakes, I'm not beating my wife. Okay, God.
dude, you know for a fact though, that when the Packers, and this I believe it was the Packers or maybe it was in Cleveland or some shit, but like when your team loses, like domestic abuse calls go like
They
skyrocketing.
got it sky high. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. In the blue collar towns, like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, all those.
Philadelphia.
Philly. Oh, Philly. You know what? The only thing I hate more than Philadelphia, the only thing I hate more than the Philadelphia Eagles is the Philadelphia fans. Just garbage people. Just
They are.
garbage people. Oh,
My wife had a guy that was from Philly in the family that married like her aunt.
ugh.
Man, what a walking piece of shit. Like, just his accent made me want to like hunt a puppy,
You know
right?
what?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
You just got a puppy too.
Like, no, they're not. They fucking suck. Like, they were terrible. They're so shitty that year. And it was not only the Philly fans, but every freaking East Coast fan that I meet when I'm on vacation down in, like, Costa Rica or the Bahamas or something like that. Everyone is like, yeah, this year. And they got the shit accent that everybody sounds like they just, like, got done driving an 18-wheeler. God, hope for, like, some sort of tsunami over there.
Here's what I hate about people from the East Coast is they use being from the East Coast as an excuse for being an asshole. Like, hey, I'm from New York. That's just what we do. No, that's not a thing. You don't need to be an asshole just because you're from New York. Like,
all being a decent human being.
Yeah. Hey, we're New Yorkers. Yeah. Hey. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Each other too. Like, so when you're on vacation, you're like, where you from? And you're like, Wisconsin. Yeah. All these other fucking New York people, they fucking suck. You guys are so nice and polite. And it's like, yeah, you all fucking suck.
Yeah, you're all terrible. You're all terrible.
Minnesota and Iowa and like us and even the Canadians, we kind of all like stick together and we're like, just sit over there like, those people.
God, they're awful.
Yeah.
They're awful people.
Vacation, I guess that's what happens when you live in a shitty city, like just on top of each other all the time.
Yeah, you get that mindset of a very selfish mindset, and then it just carries over and everything else. So, long story short, everyone from the East Coast sucks. So we'll just say it that way.
Now that we've lost everybody from the East Coast, now we're the
Eastern time zone on. No one's gonna watch us ever again. That's fine. That's fine. We'll be all right. We'll recoup.
New York.
Yeah, you dare you from New York. Okay, well, look, I don't think we'll have an answer to this, but you brought up some good points and some things that I didn't know, and maybe this will give something for people to chew on when they're watching the big game, because for me, my final thought on this is there's so much money involved. And Dwight, just as well as I do, when you're rich and you're powerful, not that we are, but the rich and powerful live a totally different existence than the rest of us. And what I mean by that is they want to stay rich and powerful, and they're willing to sell their soul and willing to ride that line of good and evil, maybe even, if you will. And there's a lot of rich people involved in the NFL. There's a lot of rich people there in any sport. And it may not be crazy to think that they would say, okay, yeah, we'll throw a couple games. Why don't we really build up this story, and let's really put some asses in the seats and charge people $500 a ticket and $16 a beer, and the advertisers this much. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made and lost in that scenario. So
in closing too, real quick, like this, and I wanted to mention this. Did you remember that Super Bowl? And I can't remember when it was. It was probably more than 5-6 years ago, where like the lights went out. Do you remember?
Oh, that was at the Ravens. That was the Ravens.
In that game, they were winning, and they were way ahead, but they were winning the game. And it was like the first thing that my like semi-autistic, fully retarded brother said was like, "That's Vegas. That's Vegas icing the other team." Like the first thing out of his fat blubbering mouth was that, and I was like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And then like in my mind, I'm like, "Wait a minute, what if somebody did like just hit the power?"
Mm-hmm.
Game off for because how long was that?
It was like half hour, 45 minutes. It was a long time. Yeah. And you're telling me they didn't have a backup generator in that fucking place? There's certain things just for everyone watching, just maybe keep a suspicious eye out, like that seems
just brown eye. Maybe.
Everyone has one. Everyone has one. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So you kind of blew my mind last podcast. Is there anything maybe that you got from this one that you might think about a little bit?
Well, considering that you could probably be brainwashed with an eyedropper, so blowing your mind up. If brains were dynamite, you could blow your fucking nose. Yeah. Yes, you did make you brought just you bringing it up and kind of like kicking it towards me and like kicking this thing around and just in saying that, hey, a lot of money involved makes people do a lot of really icky shit.
Yep.
I'm probably going to lean towards, yes, there has been a discussion in the NFL that has maybe been about rigging games.
I like it. I think that's a good place to be. Is okay, maybe it's not rigged, but you can't tell me that in some of those board meetings, there maybe hasn't been a few little, well, what if we did this? Right there. You never know. What if we
money for the yacht over here?
Hey, what are you talking about? Hey, I'm from New York. What do you want me to do over here?
New York over here. That's why it's okay. Hey.
It's fine. Hey, watch the hair. Watch the hair.
Almost broke my pussy finger.
We got 3 Lutes, 2 J's, ups and downs. Have a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, this is good. And like I said, for 2 guys that really are just shooting wildly into the night on this, I think we covered some good stuff. So enjoy the Super Bowl or the big game if I'm not allowed to say it because of NFL naming rights, whatever. See, you got to be careful. Yeah. Hey, Zach will get the bill. He'll get the bill either way. It'll be fine. It won't come.
Sponsors.
It's right. Go after the sponsors. And I think in the upcoming podcast, I want to talk about the Chinese spy balloon, alleged spy balloon. That's right. And, is that your
respect? I love China. I love China. I love China.
You too. See, they're listening right now, so keep that in mind. Yeah.
China.
They picked all that up. So, are you praying to the spy balloon? Is that what you're doing? Thank you, spy balloon, right there. And then what else do we want to discuss? There was something else we wanted to. Work culture. Yeah. I'm excited about that. So why don't we'll tackle those issues in the upcoming podcast. But thanks everyone for watching. This has been Shootin' the Bull with Brock and Dwight. The NFL is rigged. There's pedophiles running it. And I said, no, I went too far. I went too far on it.
Probing everybody's ass.
The aliens are involved it's like the Monstars, but in football. Perfect. Right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Good enough. All right. We'll see you guys next time.